Kemper Profiler Tones and Talks, Season 2, Legends Tribute. This time, Joe Satriani. But more important, with Thomas Dill. And here's the video. Yeah, again, we're looking at how these amazing tones come together. Thomas created a whole lot of 30 rigs for the Legends Tribute Collection, and this time also with a Joe Satriani track, and Thomas created and played the video also. Show us what was required to get this tone together, and what's the background you might want to share with us?
At this point, it's compared to some others like Steve Vai or Jeff Beck, it was really not very much stuff that was required to get this tone. You heard it, or the people who know the song, the lead part is played with a wah pedal. Overdrive tone for the rhythm guitar, some modulation from somewhere. It's 80s, so it was very important to have modulation pedals, not modulation pedals, modulation rack units to be used on the recordings and later on then on your racks for touring. And let's dive into what Joe Satriani used on that one. So the song "Surfing with the Alien" comes from the album. Joe Satriani is the composer. It was released 1987, recorded in San Francisco at Alpha and Omega and Hyde Street Studios, and the producers are Joe Satriani and John Cuniberti. So that's what Wikipedia said. The guitars he used wasn't Ibanez guitars, because it was before that era when he get his 1000 signature models. And he used a Kramer Pacer with 2 humbuckers and a Kramer Pacer with 3 single coils and a Strat style guitar, which was assembled by himself. He used boogie bodies and not Mesa boogie bodies, boogie bodies, and ESP necks for this Strat style guitar, but mostly he used the Kramer Pacer. And here's a picture, and this is him at younger age with this Pacer with 2 humbuckers. I found out he used Seymour Duncan 1959 on the neck position. Bridge pickup was a Seymour Duncan JB, and of course Floyd Rose tremolo. And here's a picture of him with, I think it was the first signature model with 2 humbuckers, looking nearly the same as, so same color, same equipped as the Kramer Pacer. And amps and cabs, so really easy, because the budget, Surfing with the Alien was the second album from Joe Satriani, and the budget was really low. He used Linn drums on nearly every song, which created a nice style of the perfect rhythm and his guitar, really lively guitar playing. And it was the thing at that time. And he used an early 70s Marshall, I found out, SLP 100, and Marshall 4x12 cab equipped with G12T 75 speakers. And this is how a Marshall SLP 100 looks like. Non-master volume at that time. And yeah, effects is the same. A crybaby bar, Chandler tube driver, and an Eventide H949 are the effects he was using. The Chandler tube driver is, yeah, the name says it, a tube-driven overdrive from USA. I think Eric Johnson uses this a lot too. And the special thing for that time for overdrive pedals was that it has high and low EQ, so 2-band EQ. Normally with the Boss overdrives, you just get a tone knob. And you can dial in more specific frequency range for distortion. And here's the Eventide. I think they used it for modulation effects. This is yeah, a high-priced studio rack unit released from 1979. I don't know what they cost now, but it's yeah, legendary rack unit for studio use. Okay, so these are the main facts and the main equipment that he used. And yeah, I tried to get close to that equipment. And again, I found some stuff in the profiler's stock content. I will change to the rig manager. And here we are. So Legends Tribute Collection 4, you find it at Rig Packs, scroll down, and the Legends Tribute Collection with the 30 rigs is Tribute Collection 4. And you find in Joe Satriani at Joe Sat named. And I took for that sound Marshall Super Elite 100 from 1970 from the Michael Britz rig pack, the same as I used for the Jeff Beck sound. But yeah, that were the amps at that time that were available and that the people almost used. So yeah, why not? Why not playing the same amp for the Jeff Beck sound as the Joe Satriani sound? It's yeah, as we said at the Jeff Beck episode, it's almost the player, or mostly the player, who creates the tone. And I added some natural reverb, micro pitch, studio EQ, and the Kemper drive. So for the leads, and of course the wah pedal. For the rhythm sound, you can turn the Kemper drive off and the dual delay off. So we have this sound here. This is the smart rhythm sound. I'm playing with the bridge pickup humbucker. And yeah, let's break it up and start from scratch with the amp tone. So the amp sound is not much gain, 3.3. And very dynamic. So these are the basic tone. I added some natural reverb just to have a little bit of, yeah, room. And then the first thing is the micro pitch. This is, yeah, the Eventide style modulation sound. So detune at 5.7 cent. The mix level is at about yeah, 59%, so a bit more than the half, and a crossover at 500 hertz. So the lower notes were not too much detuned. And the higher notes have more detuned sound. So this is the basic rhythm tone. And studio EQ, just to match the recorded tone. And I didn't do very much. I just took a high cut at 7.6K and at 75 Hertz a low cut, and no mid or high level boost in there. So this is just to match to the guitar speaker tone, because the guitar speaker goes up to 7.5 or 7K and not above. So I mostly take a high cut in the studio EQ for those studio sounds. So for the lead tone, I added some Kemper drive. So that's nearly the same as the Chandler drive. Without the drive. With the drive. It's set as a boost, so a little bit more volume and a little bit drive, just to give the tone some character and a little bit of higher gain and a smoother sound. And the next thing is the wah pedal. And I will show you here. When you take a wah pedal, go to wah, then wah, and I took the cry setting, the preset for the crybaby. You see it here. This is the crybaby preset I chose now, and this is the same from the Legends Tribute sound. And the difference here is just the pedal mode is on when you take the preset. And in that case, for this sound, I took bypass at stop, because when you want to play that in one time, starting with the rhythm sound and then going to the lead sound, it's great to have bypass at stop, because you can just start to move the pedal and the pedal is on. So this is the lead tone. I just forgot one thing, the dual delay. That's added to the lead tone too. It's just to give the lead tone a little bit of delayed sustain. And a little bit of more room. So these are the basics for this tone. Here we are. And you can also play with the drive on, Kemper drive on for the rhythm tone. I will show you. With just soft picking, and then switch to the lead tone. Just in a row, because the Marshall profile really has a lot of dynamic response, and you can create, even with humbucker, high output humbucker pickups, create these different tones. So that's all. What do you think?
Well, that's indeed pretty straightforward, and that was also that I think Joe Satriani had going for himself, because that was the same time as Steve Vai came up with Eat Smile, that legendary recording with David Lee Roth, and then it came out that Steve Vai was the pupil of Joe Satriani, that he was teaching
He
Steve
took
Vai, and
guitar
also
lessons, yeah.
Kirk Hammett, and then the Joe Satriani record came out, so they were all basically in the same league in a way. But Satch had such a different approach always, and I think he has left that a little bit behind, because I think he then showed up on stage with, you know, two Marshalls and stuff like that, and more distorted tones, and everything became a little bit more washed away. And before, in these early records, it was so precise because there was not so much going on, that I really liked. It was always very musical, very, very melodic, even when he was doing some weird stuff like whatever, I don't know. No, there was a lot of melodic stuff on this record. I just have Apple Music here in front of me. So that's the thing. And I always had the impression that he's playing a small combo, and that the volume is so low that you even hear through the microphone a little bit of the guitar strings, because there was always this weird attack. And the Lin drums, the drum computer and stuff, that's basically a whole concept that at that time even people could have done at home themselves also. Yeah. Because you could have a drum computer, an 8-track or a 4-track record tape recorder, and cheap mixer and stuff like this. So that was also very interesting, and it's incredible, because I was thinking when you were bringing up the tone, or when I heard the first heard it on the rig on the Tribute Collection video, that it sounds so much more, I don't know, it's just that tone, which is true if you compare it, but even with the profiler, it sounds a little bit more, I don't know, richer and whatever, like HD version of that one. And
maybe it's long, more than 30 years ago. So
yeah, but they had a nice studio, not for long, but I had some documentation, some interviews out there with John Coniberti, which are really fun to watch if you're into, the instrumental guitarist from that period, because that was also a thing that was going on, because a lot of instrumental rock guitar music came out at that time, and this is one of the pivotal albums there. So to cut
like
story short,
something what you said about the gain, I really started, I didn't listen to the record because you have that stuff as a guitar player, you have it. So for me, I had it in my ears. So I started, dialing in the tone, taking the Marshall, okay. And I had too much gain. Then when I compared it to the original version, so it just was, did he use that less gain at that time? But yeah, as you said, nowadays he's playing with much more gain and singing and creaming tone. But this recording, especially the rhythm tone, is really Marshall low gain style, and it sounds great.
Yeah, and if we are in this department of back in the day, everything was better, which is not true, but some things. I saw him at a G3 tour together with Steve Vai, and that must have been 98 or 99 in Hamburg, Germany. And that was when he was still kind of frugal with his tone, not so much stuff going on, because it was still the 90s, and so the early digital stuff was happening at that time. But then I saw him in 2016 or 17. And it was just, everything was pretty mushed and, very distorted and not so defined anymore. The music has changed, of course, and people change, the styles change, of course. Fair enough. But if you lose some articulation and some precision, you lose a little bit this unique thing that you would get, for example, from Jeff Beck. Why Jeff Beck was praised so much, because it made all the difference. With a lot of gain, everybody basically sounds pretty close to each other.
Yeah,
the lesser gain you have, the more the individual attack, the approach, the personality comes across it. I think that's something to look for these days, because gain becomes cheap, and low gain and more individuality becomes expensive, because that's what makes the difference and lets you stand out, I guess.
But something from some play feel style, if you really like to play long notes, especially with in-ears and digital devices, when you are on stage with 4x12 caps and power amps, racks, and huge volume, you can play clean tones, and the tone is there. It's really no problem. Play feel is great, but always in the studio here, when you're playing at lower volumes, sometimes you like to have a little bit more gain or sustain. You miss sometimes sustain. Use a compressor for that, to get this sustain, and especially for long notes. So we in the next episode we will talk about sustain and sustained notes, and how much gain is still less enough.
But that's of course, that's a very important.
It's not always. What I like to say is, it's not always less gain is better for the individual tone, and much gain is more muddy. It depends on the line you're playing. It depends on how fast you're playing. When you play fast runs, it's better to have less gain because you hear the articulation better. If you play really long notes, long sustained notes, then you need some kind of gain.
Well, gain. Maybe we should make a distinction, the difference between gain and distortion. If it's a lot of distortion, because with Satriani, he had two 4x12 caps behind him, and he had a lot of distortion. When you have the two caps, you have basically
you have sustain,
the ability to get the power from the cabinets and hold the notes. So it's not important to have so much distortion. But he had both, and that was just a little bit too much. And I don't want to generalize that, but that's something to look out for, because when the music goes down in all the distortion, that's sometimes something to look out for, and be aware, because it's fun, and especially maybe it's something different with the younger people, because for us we couldn't get enough gain because there wasn't there were not devices to give you more.
I sold my old TS-808 because it has less gain. It had less gain, and I bought, I don't know what I bought, a cheap other distortion. So
my first
the times.
So my first distortion was a big muff with a big and this was a big mistake, because the big muff was a fuzz basically. And I was looking for distortion. And then I had a thing from a company called Coron, Coron. And this device looked a little bit like an MXR distortion. And the difference for this Coron was it had a huge volume push also. And it had a lot of distortion. And I had this Fender Twin copy, whatever tube I'm totally clean. But with this, I had really distortion. But this Coron thing was uncool. So I saved my money to get an MXR. But then just to realize the sound was a little bit more defined and rounder, but it didn't have so much sustain. So one step forward, one step sideways. So that's how it worked, because we always had money for one new pedal by selling another pedal. And if you made that decision, you had to live for it for a while, which was in a way also interesting, because when you had to work around these, this new situation. And nowadays, gain, come on.
No problem. Yeah.
3 pure boosters in front of a Mesa Boogie profile. And
compression behind that.
And the god of gains is your uncle. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting, because I was just wondering, it sounds different. But no, you're right. It was really that little amount of distortion, and it just now sounds more. And of course, in the mix, the guitar sounded a little bit put into a place, and there was not so much bass anyways available. I mean, that was one of the first CDs, I think, in 84.
87.
The album, all right, this album came 87, and I'm going to listen to it again now, because this was on
great album,
constant rotation in my car at that time. Joe Satriani, a great innovator, because he also did things. I mean, there were guys who did things differently, like Steve Vai. But he was also doing things differently, because he had a completely different set of accompaniment, with the Lindrum and some programmed stuff. There, I think he was a big innovator, and so he's a little bit the Prince, Mr. Nelson of rock guitar. Maybe nobody said that before, I guess. All right, I think that's it so far around the Surfing with the Alien Tone. Thanks again, Thomas, for recreating that and sharing this info with us. And see you next time. Try this at home. We have a lot of more interesting players to come, so watch out this channel. And as we said, if you do something with these tones on your own, just share your links. We can share with each other what we take from this inspiration and make out of it. All right. Bye for now.
Peace. Bye.